Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories mixed with Am I the Arsehole as well. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Now today's first story comes from Throwing Am I the Arsehole New Kid, who says, am I the arsehole for wanting to start a relationship with my newly found daughter? And it does come with a couple of updates as well. I didn't even know this site existed until a work friend let me know about it. Back when I, 51 male, was 16, I met a Mexican girl, Anne, in my school who was new and immigrated to the States. She was absolutely gorgeous and had a very distinctive look. We dated for 5 years and I'd always considered her the love of my life. We went to the same college together and always talked about getting married. Her family wasn't keen on a white kid like me dating her. One day, she asked to meet at a local park and tells me she has to skip town. I asked why and when I would see her. She acted like she couldn't talk long and just said she didn't know, but she was doing this for my safety, and that was the last time I saw her. I moved on eventually, but I always thought of her. When Facebook became a thing, I tried to find her but never did. Eventually I got married to my wife, 50 female, when we were in our early 40s. She already had 2 kids from a previous marriage who were both preteens at the time. I provided for them, but they were never warm to me. I don't really begrudge them for it, but I never felt appreciated with everything I sacrificed to provide. They're in their early 20s now. Fast forward to 6 months ago. A new girl, Beth, started at our office, and when I saw her, I was shocked. She was the spitting image of Anne. When I got the chance to talk to her privately, I asked if her mum's name was Anne. She said she honestly didn't know because she was adopted, but she had been hunting for her biological parents for years. She only had one photo to reference. I asked if I could see it. She said she would bring it in the next day. I kept this from my wife. I didn't want to say anything if I didn't know 100%, and she is the jealous type and never liked hearing about Anne. The next day, Beth brought the photo and it was Anne. I told her my story. We both came to the realization that she was old enough to potentially be my daughter. We planned to get a paternity test that week. I was hesitant to tell my wife because I suspected she would forbid it. Well, she's my daughter. 29 years later, and I have a daughter. We were both overjoyed to have found one another, and she asked if we could start building a relationship. I came home that day and told my wife everything. She was livid, but not because I was keeping this from her, like what I thought she would be, understandably upset over. My wife thinks I'd choose Anne and Beth over her. She doesn't want me to be in contact with a girl who isn't more of your child as much as our kids are to you. She feels that by building this relationship, I will see her kids as less of mine. I got mad and said that her kids are her kids and I've been happy providing for them, but I'm not their father. I'm their stepfather, and sometimes I don't even feel they think that. She's forbidding me from this relationship, but I'm ready to die on this hill. And we'll cover the first update first because I think is the best place for it. And it said, I want to add all this came to a head and now she's seriously using the it's her or me ultimatum. Prior to this, we had a happy marriage. She doesn't work and I provided for the family our whole time together. She has been in hysterics over this, saying Beth just wants to get money out of me. I'm starting to rethink our whole relationship, but I'm not sure if I'm being unreasonable by saying I'm absolutely going to make an effort to be in Beth's life from now on as her father. I realized I didn't specify a time. Beth started 6-ish months ago, but I hadn't talked to her because of COVID and whatnot, and truly didn't even really bother looking into her intro email. It was only until last month, when our offices started to open up, that we got to be in the same physical space and I saw her in person for me to ask about her mum. My wife has been livid and unbearable to live with these last couple of weeks. I've tried to talk to her, but she keeps telling me she needs more time. I realize we need a therapist, but her ultimatums are bothering me. And on this one, I do agree with OP that it is a hill to die on. And we've seen ultimatums being used in so many different stories that we covered, and I can't think of a time when they've actually worked out well, and perhaps therapy is what's needed in this particular situation. And just telling her, that it isn't going to affect your family, it's not going to break you up, you're not going to run away with a daughter and just disregard the family that you've built so far, but that you do want this relationship with your biological daughter, that you've missed so many years out already, and you want to build something with her. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. Sure, I can understand some of wife's insecurities in this, that she may be feeling nervous and how it's going to change your family dynamic, maybe financial stuff as well, seeing as she doesn't work. But it doesn't excuse, throwing shitty behavior around, like the it's her or me ultimatum, automatically going to, that she just wants to get money out of you. And instead of talking about things, she's just being livid with you and like you said, unbearable to live with these last couple of weeks. So I do wonder how you can move forward with this without some sort of therapy or something like that, where some sort of mediator to be between you to discuss this and to put things logically to your wife. But before further updates, Free Palpitation says, not the arsehole, trust me on this one. My mum had me when she was 16. Didn't tell my biological father until I was 26. He had no clue, and when he found out, he was ecstatic. Told his wife and my half-siblings, 2 brothers and a sister, about me. It was weird and awkward because I'm his oldest now, but we haven't officially met in person. We live on opposite sides of the country. This may be something to talk to a family therapist about, because it sounds like your wife needs some reassurance that you aren't going to up and abandon your family just because you found a lost member of it. Darth Vader Cake says, agreed on the hill. If possible, it's worth trying for both. But if your wife is hellbent on an ultimatum, then you will have to choose your daughter. Think of it this way. You accepted your wife's children as your responsibility and provided for them. At minimum, it is your wife's turn to accept your child in return. Your daughter is an adult. You will likely not even have to provide for her in a similar way. You just want her to be a part of that. If your wife can't accept that, then ultimately she isn't willing to have an equal and fair marriage and expects you to make sacrifices that she doesn't want to make. That is not a good thing in a healthy marriage. Icy Pryor says, not the arsehole, your wife giving that sort of ultimatum is extremely toxic behavior. You and your daughter deserve to have a relationship. Amy Cherry replies to that saying, I learned from high school that if someone presents you with an ultimatum of pick me or them, they're usually confident you'll pick them. However, you should pick the person that is not presenting you with the ultimatum, only if they don't have a solid reason behind the choice. Lanky Temperature replies to that one saying, same. It was a friend who had a fight with another friend in my case, who demanded our whole friend group pick him over the other friend. Unsurprisingly, all of us picked the one not given the ultimatum. The other friend even said he wouldn't blame us if we would pick the one given the ultimatum because we hadn't been friends with him as long. But we told him we weren't going to be friends with someone who tried to tell us what to do. Sev's mama says, not the arsehole, this is a hill I would die on as well. You have every right to make a relationship with your daughter if that's what you both want. Reassure your wife that this doesn't mean you'll abandon her or stepchildren, but be clear and firm that you will pursue getting to know your daughter and maybe suggest couples therapy. Zippy Zaboo says, not the arsehole, your wife may come around, but you'll do well to realize that you're in different positions. What is a great news for you is horrible news for her. You can probably work this out, but you will need to sacrifice a bit. I expect mostly by getting into things a bit more slowly and probably with the help of a counselor. Opie replies saying, I don't know why it'd be horrible for her at all. She's not losing me unless she continues with these bogus demands. It's a daughter I never knew I had. I never had biological children up until this point. I've raised her 2 kids for the last 10 years and provided for them as much as I could. They weren't very warm to me, but hey, that's the step-parent life. She's acting like we are all a super warm, perfect family. We were happy, but by no means were we the Brady Bunch. Basila says, it's horrible for her financially. You mentioned your wife doesn't work, and I don't know how much she has saved for retirement, but in terms of assets and inheritance, she might be afraid that you'll will everything to your newfound bio-child. And OP replies saying, I never thought about that. I mean, she has a bit of a shopping addiction that we curbed years ago. She was in debt, but nothing astronomical that I couldn't take care of. She hasn't worked in years and she doesn't have retirement. I used some of my own retirement to pay for the kids' college. I guess in terms of inheritance, depending on how close Beth and I get and how our relationship progresses, I will include her obviously. Maybe she is thinking of that. Honestly, there are certain things I've started to realize about us that are making it hard to come to grips with. I realized that some of her behavior prior to this wasn't okay and was toxic, but it was never a huge issue before this. This has been such an exhausting few weeks. I'm mentally drained, and I guess that's why I made this post, to hear the other sides of it. Someone went on to question about how he's been hung up on Anne throughout the entire marriage and then questions their relationship, and Opie replied to that saying, well, she's been a jealous type over any woman I've been friends with or interacted with. She wanted passwords to my phone and stuff, which I didn't mind because I truly have nothing to hide. I understand it's probably because of her past with her ex, but I've never cheated on her or gave her reason to believe I would leave her. I love her and our marriage. It wasn't always perfect, but we have made it work. I was always transparent, and I guess I'm hurt that she doesn't take my word for it when I say I won't leave her and don't love her or her kids any less. And replying to another question that was regarding the previous relationship with Anne that disappeared, Opie replied saying honestly she doesn't. She came up here and there in conversation very early on in our relationship. When we were opening up about our past painful relationships, we did talk about each other's exes. I remember she had gotten upset when I told her I didn't really consider Anne an ex the way she did her ex because I never knew what happened to her, and we didn't have a blow up fight or anything. She was upset at that. I didn't bring her up again after that because of her reaction. In fact, my wife would sometimes tease me about Anne waiting at the border, which upset me more, and we agreed to not talk about her. There's more to this story, but I had a character limit. People were replying to that, talking about wife maybe not being the nicest person, and Opie replied saying she comes from an old traditional Italian family and always believed it was the man's responsibility to pay for family. I didn't mind it because I'm a lawyer and make a healthy salary, although the last few years paying for the kids' college was a struggle on one salary. My stepdaughter never completed college because she flunked out and never really thanked me. She said we pressured her. My stepson has been better and he mostly takes it as that's what dads do. So no, I never truly felt appreciated, and this was an issue in our relationship. I'm a very no-nonsense type of person when it comes to racist remarks, and I told her that as much, and I don't want the kids to repeat those ignorant remarks. I think she mostly said it as a way to see how hurt I would be over it. I think she took it as I still really love her, etc, when in reality, I just really hate stupid racist things like that. Another comment from OP said she refuses to talk to me unless I've agreed to stop talking to that girl. I've mentioned counselling. She rebuffed it. I'm giving her more time, but I can't take much more of this. I haven't told Beth any of this because we're just starting out learning about each other, and I'm enjoying the time I've spent with her. Her adoptive mother is the only parent in her life, since it turns out her adoptive dad was a scumbag and left the family. She started talking about this with me and told me she really appreciates me hearing about her life, even the not so great parts. I don't want to shake the boat and tell her everything that's going on with my wife. My stepkids have been even colder to me as of late. Once my wife cools down and lets me calmly talk, I will definitely bring up having a therapist seriously. I guess you could say I never fully moved on from Anne, but after so many years, I see my wife as my primary partner and the person I knew I would grow old with. Anne probably isn't the same Anne I knew anyways, wherever she is. I love my wife and want to stay with her, but she has said some horrible things about Beth without knowing her, and her ultimatums are making it hard to forgive. Beth and I talked after we found out the result. She asked me what I felt comfortable with in terms of relationship building, and I told her I would be ready for whatever relationship she wanted to have, because I was excited to find out I had a daughter. And with all that additional information, let's head into the final updates to find out what happens next. So, wow, I'm blown away by the support and advice I'm receiving. I'm not sure what these award things are, but thank you for the hugs. I just wanted to clear up a few things since I've commented along the way, and some people make posts without reading some background. My wife did used to work when I met her. She stopped 5 years ago, but it hasn't worked since. And I wish I had an explanation for why, or why I hadn't brought up about how that bothered me, but it is what it is. I didn't let her know it bugged me. I just didn't want to pressure her. Despite this, she has always been great at housekeeping and does do the legwork with errands. Beth has lived in the same city area as myself her whole life. I lived here my whole life for the most part. We work in a large company downtown. While it is bizarre she got a job in my department, it happened. I don't doubt we would have eventually found each other, seminars, networking events, etc. Especially given we are in the same career field. When I say she's the spitting image, I mean she looks exactly like her mum. The only thing she inherited from me seems to be her interest in the legal field. Finally, everyone keeps commenting about how she's just insecure over my long lost love obsession. I need to be clear. The only reason I brought Anne up was because she's relevant to the story. Early on in my wife and I's relationship, we discussed past relationships and relationship trauma. We commiserated together about what that did for us mentally and emotionally. After a few snarky comments from her about Anne, I said we wouldn't talk about it anymore, and we hadn't for years. I love my wife, but maybe the veil is lifting for me, and I'm realizing that despite her loving me, she might see us more as just financial support. I don't like thinking that because we had amazing times together, and to think it might have been a facade hurts. And a final update. Thank you everyone for your insights, however mean some were last night. I am not a pushover. I'm just not interested in unnecessary arguments. I have enough of that kind of environment at work. We haven't had many issues pop up in our marriage other than the kids' attitude sometimes, but they were teens and I acknowledge I should have been more proactive in bonding with them. I do love and care for my stepchildren. Yes, I spoiled them a bit, but have been making boundaries with them that predates the Beth revelation. No, I don't believe my wife is a gold digger, but I do believe in this case she does care more about financial stability than understanding my relationship with Beth. I don't want my marriage to end because I know she loves and cares for me. We've had great times and I'm very much in love with her. I was harsh in my wording before and I apologize to anyone who thought I was being misogynistic. I had a long grueling conversation last night with my wife. I'm really not ready to share. I don't want added judgment on my end. I can say it wasn't very good or bad. It just is, but we're talking now. I plan to update everyone in the future if anything significant happens. We're trying to work past this, but I am feeling disheartened. For now, I continue seeing Beth and learning about her adopted family. We're planning on going to dinner this weekend to meet. In the meantime, I am enjoying Reddit, so thank you to my friend who introduced me and guided me through everything. You know who you are, bud. I've created another username and found a lot of amazing sub-forums to keep me occupied and some that have similar experiences as mine. Most of you have been so warm to this old man and I'm eternally grateful for all of your kind words. And there was some additional bits of information here and there what OP talked about, and basically they're saying that they are going to be a part of Beth's life no matter what, that they're not going to go back on that, and I agree with that. And there was one final comment that jumped out from OP where someone was questioning about OP's relationship with his daughter and maybe the wife has a say in it too. And OP replied saying, I vehemently disagree. My relationship with my daughter is not her call. She is my daughter. It'd be like if I tried to dictate the way she treats her kids. I have no say in the matter. I think I can build a relationship with Beth while working on my relationship with my wife. But if she's against this, I choose Beth. Plain and simple. The idea that anyone can prevent someone from knowing their kid is asinine. Beth is not a child. She's a grown woman. I'm not going to miss out on knowing her any longer. And Anne isn't in the picture. Then there were some people arguing below this one as well, saying, she should have a choice like you've had choices to do with her kids in the past as well. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Put yourself in both of their shoes. How do you think you would feel about it? Whilst I kind of understand, that wife is probably a bit nervous, a bit scared of what's going on, I definitely don't agree with the ultimatum she's throwing around, and the way we've talked in some of that additional information in there as well seems absolutely awful. But like OP has been saying, these are both adults now and they're just building their relationship as father and daughter. Why would you want to stop that? It's not like he's trying to get back with Anne. He doesn't even know where Anne is anymore. So now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart from getting involved in the channel. Your love, support and time always means the absolute world to me. And I just want you to know that. Thank you so much for being involved. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs. Brush my teeth up, wash my face. Throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day.